Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Wolverine number 65, cover dated January 1993. This is a really eye-catching cover. Part of the reason for that is the composition of the figures. Wolverine here in the foreground. Yes, he looks like he's about 8 or 9 feet tall rather than the 5'3" he's supposed to be, but he's also standing on the same horizon line as the X-Men, the little group of X-Men back there, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, and of course Professor X. And really what helps the images here pop is the decision to have an all-white background. Now that of course is going to make for a speedier cover to produce for Mark Texeira. It's pencils and inks by Texeira, but I also think it really works well in terms of making this stand out from other comics that particular month, and also making it intrigue me as the possibility for a pretty cool poster. Now of course Wolverine doesn't exactly look ferocious in the pose on this cover. He looks more like he's grieving, which he has every right to be grieving because of recent losses, whether it was Mariko Yashida in Japan or in the previous issue Silver Fox. Like Wolverine's been through a tough time when it comes to his lady loves. Now the title of the cover caption is State of Grace, which is intriguing. Let's open this one up and get into the story itself. We be open with a splash page for 23 pages of story and art. There's no letters page in this particular issue, so everything is given over to the story. And this is quite an offbeat story for Wolverine. One might be expecting a lot of action, and there certainly is action in this issue, but the second half of the issue there's a different tone, and we'll soon see why that is, and we'll see why the title of the story, State of Grace, is appropriate. So we also get a little note that these events take place before the Executioner's song. So that crossover was ongoing at this point in the publishing history. The Wolverine solo title not part of Executioner's song. And the story opens, as it often does, with Wolverine's first person narration. There are times when a plain vanilla Danger Room workout just don't cut the mustard. Sometimes you just gotta strap on the virtual reality gear and rock and roll with an interactive 3D. Sometimes you want to reach out and do more than just touch someone. Gotta throw down heavy, gotta extrude adamantium and go to Claw City. So Professor X is overseeing the virtual reality sequence. Let's do it, Chuck, says Wolverine. He looks grim on his face there. Creative team down here, Larry Hama script, Mark Texeira art, with an art assist by Steve Biazzi. Some of the pages you'll soon see look like they might have been produced in haste, like there's no backgrounds on certain pages, but it all reads very well, and I'm a big fan of Mark Texeira's art, and no complaints in that regard. Pat Brousseau on the letters and Marie Javins on the colors rounds out the creative team. So let's, as I said, get right into the story here. We see Wolverine with the virtual reality helmet on, the X branding on top of that. In the control booth we have our X-Men from the cover, so Professor X, Jubilee, Cyclops and Jean Grey. And in the control booth, the Professor says, I still have grave reservations about this Wolverine. The purpose of the Danger Room isn't to act out childish revenge fantasies. This is analogous to taping a photo of an enemy on a dartboard. And Jubilee interrupts rather boldly or daringly, but of course she's got no respect for authority really. Golly gee whiz, Professor Xavier, I sure am sorry that Wolvie isn't a superior human being who can work out his problems internally like you. Isn't it like a crying shame that he has to resort to kicking over garbage cans and punching brick walls like the rest of us cerebrally underdeveloped homo inferiors? Gosh, it must be really terrific to have that much control over your emotions, but I guess that's what comes with all that brain power, huh? So the Professor's frowning at her. He could explode, But he says nothing. Scott says nothing. Jean says nothing. And the professor simply concludes, start the simulation. So, back to Wolverine's first-person narration. Charlie's been working on this program. It looks a lot realer than last time. So he's back in the cabin where he and Silver Fox lived some indeterminate time in the past. We first saw this cabin in Wolverine issue number 10 by Chris Claremont, John Buscema and Bill Sienkiewicz. And he's back to the moment when Sabretooth has killed Silver Fox. And also this aspect of the killing, that it was sadistic and sexual. She was an uppity squaw, Logan. She said no, as Sabretooth tastes the blood on the end of his claw. Now, this never happened. It's been revealed in previous issues that Sabretooth did not kill Silver Fox, that was all an illusion. Jean here asks, was that necessary? And Cyclops says he provided that snippet of dialogue himself, Jean. So Logan has been feeding into the program information in order that it be as accurate and realistic as possible. And now he extrudes precisely those adamantium claws, getting ready to go to Claw City, and runs towards Sabretooth. So let's see what happens here. Interesting layouts from Texeira. We're getting full horizontal panel layout, so we're getting a kind of a widescreen effect, but also he's moving the quote-unquote camera around so that we've full body shots there of Logan slamming into Sabretooth, then a close-up on his roaring face as he starts slashing away at Sabretooth, then back to full body perspective on the pair as they scrap. And down the bottom of the page we have 4 panels giving us the reactions of the X-Men. Professor X asks, why did he want to do it this way? Why did he want to feel it? Jubilee, with a look of horror on her face, says, it's like punching that brick wall. Cyclops, right, you know it's going to hurt. And even Jean gets it, but you do it anyway. So let's continue with the sequence here. So Sabretooth starts talking back. Now remember, he's a hologram, but he starts talking back to Logan. Some hero you are. You couldn't even save the woman you love. You're worthless. And Jean twigs that wasn't programmed in. What's happening? Professor says the virtual reality program feeds on active input and extrapolates. It makes for realistic confrontations, perhaps too realistic. So from the vantage point of 2025, with progress in respect of generative AI and interactive AI and AI assistance on our phones and so on and so forth, we're kind of moving into that type of territory now ourselves. You give the AI access to your information, and it can talk back to you, and sometimes in surprising and unexpected ways, yes? So back to the sequence though. We've got Sabretooth punching Wolverine. I like the decision here to have an open border panel. I always point that out when an artist uses it. It is definitely a device one can use for laying out to make the page look more visually interesting. Also, you can see that this is a page where it looks like Texeira was under a little bit of time pressure, and I wonder if the art assist is coming into play now at this point with backgrounds and or inking in blacks, for example, which is something that an art assistant would do in order to speed things up for the main artist. Sabretooth, virtual reality Sabretooth continues and says, you say you got big holes in your memory. How about that, pard? Maybe you don't want to remember some of that stuff because it wasn't so pretty. Maybe you wasn't as good and noble as you want to believe. Maybe there's a mission or two that you wished never happened, as he kicks him in the chest. So Logan here, we get to see him in the danger room. I like the little switch there, and then this holographic ghost of Sabretooth as he's coming towards him and says the key phrase, like the Terry Adams kill. So Wolverine reacts to that emotionally. No, I didn't. And Sabretooth punches him in the virtual reality simulation. You were going to do it. It was your shot. They sent you out with a suitcase full of hardware to do a job of wet work on Terry Adams, and you went. And Logan protests, no, they scrubbed the mission, they call me back. So the professor decides it's gone too far. This is terminate the simulation. Cyclops quits the program, and then Logan is there having taken off the helmet, like the decision to have him fully in silhouette, and he is hesitating over his words. I didn't do it. I was recalled. It wasn't my shot. So he's feeling guilty about that. And virtual reality Sabretooth has a point. Maybe Logan's past isn't all noble. And why was he picked then for Experiment X, for the Weapon X program, if he had been such a saint? Later, in a less than savory bar in Salem Center, Logan's there playing pool. You've got a big biker guy there. You going to take your shot, or are you going to keep staring off into dreamland? Asks the biker guy. It's your last shot. You got to call the pocket. So Logan knows the bar keep, and he asks to send a bracer down the plank. So he gets a Boilermaker sent down the countertop of the bar, grabs it, gets ready for the pool shot, 8-ball in the right corner, makes the shot. Pay up, bub. I believe you put a yard on the game when it was looking your way. So the biker guy has his gang behind him. I do believe I've been hustled, he says. And Logan hits back with, must have took your smart pill today, hot bub. And you can see the size of these bruisers here versus Logan. Remember, he's only supposed to be 5'3". Tell you what, how's about a game, punch for punch, double or nothing, you go first, he says. But I get to pick where the punches go. Whoever's left standing picks up the pot, fair enough. So the guy says, I get firsties. Logan replies, yeah, and you can even wear brass knucks if you got him. Oh boy, do I ever got him, says the guy. Here's another C note on the plank. So a big pot of money there. Where do you want it, sucker? Rat cheer, bub. Dead center in the old knucklehead mug. Remember, I get to punch you in the middle of your mug next. So the guy winds up for the punch. Interesting layout here where we've got these small inset rectangular panels. He's got the brass knuckles on there. Logan presents his face to the guy, chin up. The guy's bringing in the fist, and then he quotes Hamlet, "Good night, sweet prince." And then we get this horrifying sound effect and the blood spatter here, the ink on the page from Texeira. It's good stuff. And then he stumbles backwards. All of these horrifying sound effects: crunch, snap, crack, splook. And he's injured from that brass knuckle punch. Excuse me, bub, I gotta wee-wo-cade my jaw and put my eyeball back in place. This is disgusting stuff. So he turns around. That's better. You ready? His eye is out of the socket there. You don't really want to do that, do you, Logan? Says someone off panel. Let's turn the page. Who could it be? It's Jean Grey, and she's dressed a bit too raunchily for a heart-to-heart with Logan in a testosterone-fueled biker bar. But in any case, let's let it go, because any teenage male readers of this would have no problem with what Jean is wearing. But it is ridiculous for the scenario, in the story at least. So the guy backs off. He's horrified by the amount of punishment Logan could put up with. He says, yeah, why don't you talk to the nice lady and let's you and me call the bet off. Better still, let's just say you won. So Jean sits down with Logan, gives him a tissue from out of her handbag. You have the healing factor, Logan, not a pain damping factor. That must be excruciating. And he replies, not really, Jean, darling, not like the hurt inside. So, okay, so she takes the handkerchief, puts it in water there, and then he's dabs the blood off his forehead. Is this how you mask your pain, she asks? By getting some street hood to make you hurt? Is this how you deal with your anger? By taking it out on a stranger? I mean, look at his broken nose there as well. Busted mouth, It's really, really well done by Texeira. And, the way that Larry Hama's doing Logan's characterization here is in grief, he has turned to sadomasochism in order to get through it. Like, that is really messed up, psychologically speaking. Really like the art on these couple of pages. Again, this is what I was talking about earlier. Look, we've got no backgrounds really. So that's a kind of little clue that Texeira is maybe under a bit of time pressure with this. Logan says here he's continuing to bleed there. That's the problem, darling. I just don't know about my pain any longer. Stuff that I thought I'd worked out comes right back and the wound gets opened up again. Now I find out that a lot of the hurt I thought I'd lived through was lies implanted in my head just to mess with my memory. What's worse is finding out that most of the joy I was holding on to like a life raft wasn't nothing but a fake too. And Jean retorts, I suppose life isn't rough for anybody else but Logan, huh? And he says, as he puts something else back into place, nah, I ain't feeling sorry for myself, but excuse me if I am a little bummed out right this second. Jean replies, what can I say, Logan? You're a hero in every sense of the word, and a lot of grief always comes with that accolade. But Logan explodes. Grief? You gotta be kidding, Jean. I've seen the death of every person I ever loved, including you. Now, remember that is a bit of a retcon of Claremont's, because if you go back to Uncanny X-Men 137 and subsequent issues, Logan really wasn't terribly, not in the original comics, that much moved by Jean's death. It was other X-Men who were more particularly moved. But in any case, Claremont retconned Logan having more than collegial feelings for Jean in the backup stories of classic X-Men when he had the opportunity to revisit those original stories. But back to this one, Logan continues, and I like the way that most of the background here is in black. It kind of suits and complements the darkness of Logan's bereavement and experience. I was holding Mariko and she was dying, and she asked me, she pleaded with me to, oh Jean, he says, she was in so much pain. And then he pops his eye back in, and then to find Silver Fox alive after all this time and see her die again. I'm not saying my grief is any worse than anybody else's or my pain is felt any deeper. And then we have an image of Logan with Silver Fox, but that is from Wolverine number 10. Let's continue. And he says here, head down, I'm just saying that most other folks can look back in their memories and know that most of it really happened, all the good times. You look back on that stuff and it makes you smile. It might not make you forget the bad times and the hurt, but it sure takes the edge off some. And I like the fact that Jean at this point doesn't have anything to say. She just lets him talk. And he continues and says, and when other folks get physically torn up, they get a scar or a lump or something that don't quite work anymore. They can show you something and say, I got that at Anzio or Berkeley or on Highway 9. Me, I just go off in a corner and nurse a beer. That's all it takes. The time it takes to down a single brew, and I'm all knitted back together again. And then he says, oh Jean, what's the sense of my body healing itself over and over again if the hurt I got inside just festers? So, again, I like the fact that Hama here has Jean be empathetically smart. She doesn't argue with him. She understands that really the best offer to make here, do you want me to go with you tomorrow? We'll see that what tomorrow is Silver Fox's funeral. But Logan walks away. No, darling, he says. That's something just between me and Silver Fox. And he walks out of the bar with his head down. It's a really great sequence there. Really well done. The next morning, there's a little church there. The trees, it's autumnal. They're denuded of their leaves. It's appropriate for the occasion. And there's a problem. What do you mean the burial's being cancelled? Asked Logan. What's this about the remains being prepared for air freight? All I know, says the priest, is that a one-eyed brick wall with shield ID came by this morning with all this federal paperwork. There it is there. Let me see those papers, says Logan. What business is it? Oh, Nick Fury's. There's a gust of wind. Logan looks around. What the? So who or what is it? Get past the advertisements here. It's a shield vessel. And Logan's angry. Nicholas, you better have a good explanation for this. Just following orders, Logan, says Nick Fury as he disembarks. Never thought I'd see the day when I oversaw a full-dressed shield funeral cortege for a Hydra big shot, because that's what Silver Fox was in the present day. And Nick continues and says, your pal must have a lot of push at the main office. So that's with the president. What pal? Asks Logan. Let's just say I called in a few big markers. It's John Wraith. Logan's not happy to see him butt out of this, Wraith, and take the good colonel with you. This here's private. And Wraith says Salem Center didn't mean a thing to her, Logan. She would have wanted to be laid to rest in a place where she was happy. So that gets Logan's attention. I found it, Logan, says Wraith. I found the cabin. So here we go. We're going to get some resolution to all of Logan's memories about the happy times with Silver Fox in the cabin, but we don't get the location of that cabin. So they're flying towards it. Logan is blindfolded there. It's a bit comical, but Raid says to him, the info comes with strings attached. The site is still classified. You can't know where it is. That's the deal. Logan asks, and look how he's in his colors, as he calls them, his uniform, his X-Men costume. Why are you doing this? I owe you a large one, says Wraith, for Terry Adams. I don't remember, says Logan. I can't forget. So what does it mean? And we get a negative image of Logan there. What's all this business concerning Terry Adams and the mission being scrubbed and Wraith being thankful for it? But was Terry Adams killed or not? Did Logan do the job another time? What's going on? We don't know. But Wraith owes him a favour as he sees it. Much later, recording to the NavSat, this is it. So they drop down from the shield craft. The area is overgrown. Wolverine pops his claws. There's the cabin. So they bring out, one of the shield agents brings out Silver Fox's casket. And Logan says to Fury, leave her. Lay her down and clear out of here. I don't want her put in the ground by strangers. Fury says, we can't just leave you out here in the middle of nowhere. How are you going to get back? And I like this. Logan, with a raised eyebrow, says, you think I get lost in the woods? Just leave me a shovel and get moving. So Fury doesn't argue with that, and off he goes. And we're going to get a big emotional climax to this issue, and also why Hama and Texeira got the extra page. So here we go. It's real, says Logan in his first person monologue. It actually happened. So this is the physical, empirical proof. All the good stuff was real. Now that's what El Topo, the rat, or Vo, said to him, that there couldn't be traumatic memory implants if there wasn't something to genuinely, authentically be traumatized about. And so he revealed that Logan and Silver Fox did have a relationship in this cabin, and that there were good times. And that's why the bad implants were so very bad. And that's how they were being manipulated by Experiment X, Weapon X program. So Logan starts digging the grave. The ground is just as flinty and rocky as it ever was. When I was digging our well, I thought it was going to take me a month of Sundays just to get down to the damp. Maybe it's the scent of the mountain laurel, or the sound of the spade dinging rocks. A piece of memory comes rolling over me like sunlight busting through the clouds. So with Silver Fox, I fetched a bucket from the stream, Logan. Have a dipper while it's still cold. So he does. And the sun is going down or coming up. It wasn't just cold, it was sweet. Life was sweet. The sun was turning her face to gold. So it must be sunset. And when she smiled at me, there was rainbows in her eyes. So Logan getting really mushy here with his memory of Silver Fox. I wish this could be forever, darling, he says. You and me and the sunset, the wild flowers, and the breeze carrying the tang of mountain laurel. Don't be silly, Logan, nothing's forever, she says. Everything has its time, and our time is now. And they go into the cabin. And this is intriguing. We have this kind of image here of Wolverine in the sky behind the cabin. But also, if you pay very close attention, it looks like a little pixie playing a flute there as well in the flowers. That's wild stuff. Have a look at that. Tell me what that is. It looks like a pixie playing a flute. And what does that mean? Anyway, I do like this transition. I think this would have been really great if it had happened on a page turn. So the carving of Logan and Silver Fox on the cabin door, and he uses that plank of wood as a head marker for her grave. And I like the fact that Hama leaves these two panels silent and we don't have any first person narration. And then he tips his cap. Goodbye, Silver Fox. I'll be back to visit every spring, darling, he says. When the wildflowers are blooming and the wind's in the laurel, I'll be back. And there we go. The end. That is a great issue by Hama and Texeira. And probably the best of the Texeira short run on the title. And as I said, no letters page. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments section. And if you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.